So tell me a little bit about the day of the crash. Where was the Athena? Like, how did everything just unfold that day?
We were working in New York City, running a ferry service on charter for New York Waterways, which is a New Jersey-based ferry company. And we were tied up during a midday layover in Weehawken, New Jersey, which was pretty much right in front of where the plane was landed on the water. And my engineer was happened to be on the stern deck of the boat, and he saw the airplane floating down the river and right down the Hudson River. And he came in and told me and there was actually another captain on board, Dave Martin, another guy from Narragansett, and we that he saw there's a plane in the water, and we didn't really believe him, so we rushed out there, and we saw this jetliner floating down the river less than a quarter mile from us. And at the moment that we were out there, the life rafts inflated, and like the doors opened, and people started walking out onto the wings with their orange life vests on. It was shocking to see, because it was very cold. It was 15 degrees, winter day, January. So it was very the whole thing was surreal. Took us a second to process it, and then we just decided we have to go out there and help them.
It became a large collaborative effort between Coast Guard and state vessels and a whole bunch of people, the fire department and the New York Waterway ferries. It was a great effort.
When that whole event happened, it was just an instantaneous, almost like a gut response when you see people standing, out in the water about to get, in dangerously close to a bad situation. Like all with that kind of hypothermia, with that temperature, hypothermia could set in. Like when one of those people fell in the water, they'd be dead in minutes, or freezing.
It's very surreal, and I still think to this day it was a very fine exhibition of seamanship and a great rescue, and like I said before, a great effort on the part of a lot of people, including Carl Lucas, to rescue these folks off. It's still an incredible feat that the plane was able to land the way it did on the Hudson. It really was a miracle.
It's probably, when you look back on it today, does it seem like a blur, like it just all happened so quickly?
Yeah, it does. It was several years ago now, but yeah, it's still it was all over in 10 minutes. But then the whole like retelling of the story goes on and on and on. But it was over so quickly, and it was just the crew did a great job. I had a great crew of guys on here, and they everyone did exactly what they were supposed to do. We trained for a man overboard drills. We have the equipment to rescue people out of the water, to either pull them out or to use a ladder. And so we were able to, the crew was thoroughly trained on how to use the equipment. We had the equipment, and so it just became an automatic kind of process. We just sort of went into that mode, and it just worked out. During the whole rescue, it became very congested traffic-wise quickly, so I didn't have a lot of time to actually interact with the passengers. I was busy just keeping the boat from. It became the next problem became not getting into a collision, because now all these boats were coming from all different directions and surrounding the airplane, and we were trying to keep the boat next to a little inflatable raft and get the people out of it. And so we had the pilots in the raft as well. The two, Jeff Skiles and Captain Sullenberger, were both in the raft, and they didn't want to get out until all the passengers got out. But then it became an issue of just trying to get them out. But like a lot of the passengers were in shock and freaked out. Some of them were just happy when they realized that they were getting onto a boat, and they kind of, you could see that just the stress level just kind of vanish, and they realized that they were going to get out. So when we first pulled up to the raft, people started scrambling, and kind of so a little chaotic, to try and get up on the boat. And I almost had to not yell at them, but just sort of ask them, please, just one at a time, slow down, because that was my biggest fear, was that someone was going to go in the water, and so they just had to sit there. But these people, again, you have to realize they weren't dressed for the elements. They were on an airplane, so they were wearing T-shirts, and they had taken all their jackets were in the overhead compartment, and it was 15 degrees, and they were in a life raft that was half full of water. They were shivering, shaking. They were cuts, bleeding. It was kind of grim. I mean, at the time, I was expecting to see like casualties, and so you kind of steel yourself up for that. But then it never happened. I still, to this day, I still don't believe. I still can't believe that no one died in that whole thing.
What do you think about the film being produced?
I think it's great. I mean, I've talked to Sully. I've kept in touch with him over the years. I mean, I met him when he came on the boat. He came up in the wheel. I called him into the wheelhouse here, and from the get-go, he was the captain of the plane. So I wanted to know, how many passengers were on the plane, and then we started figuring that stuff out, like right as soon as he got on the boat. And he's a really nice guy. Like he really is a really great guy, and he always he emails like to all the people in the crews from the boats, like on the anniversary, and thanks again. And I mean, he's a great guy, and I think he deserves it. I think it's a great thing. He really deserves to be. He really is a hero. So.
We'll go to see the film.
Oh yeah, I'm sure I'll go check it out. Yeah, I probably won't be at the premiere, but I'll go check it out.